Yet another theme that's coming up all too often in all of the discussions I'm seeing around the pandemic is a tendency to rely too much on belief, on unquestioned assumptions. There's a huge risk around applying old assumptions to a new context. There's a lot that we need to re-envision and reassess all the time. There are huge risks, particularly about failing to observe what's actually happening and instead assuming about what's happening. And also a huge problem I'm seeing with what's known as policy-based evidence, the literal opposite of evidence-based policy. There's a fundamental trap, which I call Gooch's paradox, which is that things not only have to be seen to be believed, but also have to be believed to be seen. If we can't understand how much our beliefs are filtering what is actually going on, we will not be able to make good decisions. The scan frame here is actually really useful. There's a variant of the scan frame which looks at in terms of decisions on how we look at the world. In scan we have simple, complicated, ambiguous, not known. And they work out as being an assertion that something is true. Looking at something in terms of usefulness, we proceed as if true. We have belief, where we assert, not just assert, but it is true. We act as if it is true, as opposed to a faith level where we take it literally on faith. We have to proceed knowing that we don't know. So faith starts with this assumption about I don't know. Remember something I've talked a while before about the architect's mantra. I don't know. It depends. Just enough detail. The first requirement there is I don't know. The danger with belief is we start from I know. This is the truth. And when we do that, we end up forgetting to look at the world. So when we look at that sequence of sense, make sense, decide and act on the world, we've got to sense first before we can loop round. Now what happens when we get too locked into belief is that we miss the sensing part because we assume it's correct, we assume it's the same, and jump straight back to make the same decision because that gives us the quickest results. But the moment that change of any kind comes into that picture, that will fail. And this is why it is so important to test all the time what our beliefs are and how our beliefs are dominating or controlling or deluding us into making assertions that actually aren't what's happening. So look all the time for various ways to test belief. A really good example is the keyword like it's obvious or everyone knows or it's always been or it's always true that. Watch out for keywords like that. The moment someone says it's obvious, it probably isn't. Another one is watch particularly for misplaced emotion. One of the characteristics of when belief takes place, in effect we move from the scientist to the believer, we move from science to religion. That shift comes with a lot of emotion. So the moment we start noticing a lot of emotion around our assertions of something, it's probably not an observation. It's almost certainly a belief. And it's effectively a religious assertion that this is true rather than an actual observation that this is so. Now, if you like, there's a really scary little test you can try on my weblog called Bending Reality. The link is in the description down below. Do have a look at that because it will really show you exactly how much of your belief system is based on your actions are based on assumptions rather than on observation. Most of what people think of as being the obvious are not rational at all. So within our businesses, within our work, when planning for what we're going to do, what we need to do in order to deal with the changes we're facing now, all of those things, watch very carefully for belief. Because in order to see reality, we have to be able to question what we believe.